Fortnite has a $1 million competitive mobile-only circuit, but nobody's talking about it, knows anything about it, and the matches are truly insane. Basically, no one shoots for the entire match until the final 5 seconds. There are players who are earning tens of thousands of dollars playing exclusively on touchscreens in the most casual of modes, Blitz Royale. All I'm saying is this might be on the Mount Rushmore of competitive Fortnite tournaments. You think about World Cup 2019, Booga wins, you've got Pete Poyo winning Global Championship, you got that one with the Infinity Blade, and then you've got the mobile series. Now, there's a lot of running around. In fact, when I first watched a game of this 6 months ago, it caught me off guard so bad that I could like barely even record the intro. I'll be honest, this is one of the worst. So you might wonder why. Like, why do these players not just shoot each other and get elims if it's zero build and everyone's just running around? The problem is that everyone basically has aimbot. Back in the day, all the way back in 2020, when there was an FNCS for PC players and then one running at the same time for console and mobile players, almost all of the best controller players back then played mobile instead of console. This is just because aim assist, even on controller when plugged into a mobile device, was so much stronger than it was on console, and the performance was better too. Back then, one of the best solo players, Jenks, forgot to charge his iPad before the solo FNCS heat, causing him to dud and then not make finals. Now, this isn't relevant to this video, by the way, I just always want to bring this up. But the point I'm trying to make here is that even back in 2020, aim assist on mobile was incredibly strong. Now, most of these players were playing on controller back then when aim assist was insane, but the mobile series is touchscreen only, so no controllers allowed. However, the aim assist here is insane. If you watch any clip from the mobile series, it is very clear how good the aim assist is. Like, every single player is hitting every single bullet with the spray gun almost. Now, counterintuitively, you would think this means that this would make people shoot each other. If you have the best aim, you might as well just shoot other people who have the best aim. And I thought this was a bit of a contradiction, so I asked Parka, who's one of the players who grinds a lot of these cups, why this is. He basically said, if you stop moving, you die. So your best chance of surviving and getting placement points is to literally just sprinting around the edge of shield bubbles or using the current mobility item in the meta to make it as difficult as possible to hit you, because when they hit you, they will kill you. Now remember, the difference between winning and coming 5th is literally 1 tick to storm or 1 more second. So by risking taking a little bit of HP by standing still to go for an elimination, it can just completely ruin your match. Now, I can actually test how good the mobile aim assist is thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Red Magic. They sent me their latest gaming phone, the 11S Pro, and after installing Fortnite, the first thing I noticed is this loads incredibly fast. Now, I have never played mobile Fortnite before, and I'm sure you couldn't tell, so the first thing I found very difficult was actually just using all of my fingers on the screen. But the 11S Pro actually has 2 shoulder buttons, so I bound ADS to the left one and then shoot to the right one, so I could actually just hold the phone more like a controller. As you can see, I can zoom in, I can shoot, I can still move and do all this at the same time without having to have my fingers like this, which is what a lot of mobile players play like. As a beginner to this felt way more natural, and it definitely made playing mobile a little bit easier. Oh, 2 kills. There's also no camera bump on this whatsoever. This means that if you want to put it down flat onto a table or a surface, it won't bump around at all and it's completely flat. At the same time as playing, I was also screen recording, so I was actually able to capture the footage for this video while still playing at a high frame rate, and I felt literally no change to my input lag or frames. Holy moly. See if I can go push him. What a game as well. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. This is because the Red Magic 11S Pro has a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 series leading version, which is the world's fastest mobile SoC with up to 4.74 GHz speeds. This is also the world's first mass-produced smartphone with a liquid cooling circulation system, which you can actually see on the back of the phone. You can check out Red Magic and the 11S Pro in the links in the description and in the pinned comment, and because of them, I can absolutely confirm from my first-hand experience that aim assist on mobile is insanely strong. Now, what I haven't mentioned yet is that a lot of these matches you're watching are not on their home region. They're either on Brazil or Asia, and none of these players I've mentioned are from Brazil or Asia. I Am Noob, for example, who won the Brazil region's last qualifier, is from Ireland. Now, for the Americans out there, that is in Europe, which gets 200 ping to South America. So why is he playing on Brazil? Well, that is because there is no region lock in the mobile series. Now, unlike FNCS, the mobile series has quite a small population of people playing each qualifier, between 500 and 2,000 depending on the region. And there's an even smaller population of players who actually have hands, which means that it's the meta to play as many regions as you possibly can. And that's exactly what the top players are doing. In the finals at the start of this month, I Am Noob won EU, Middle East, and Brazil, and then placed 7th on OCE and 6th on NA West, earning a total of $2,900 in a single day. His day started at 7 AM with OCE before ending at 2 AM the next morning when NA West was over, and as of recording, I Am Noob has earned $18,000 this year alone from mobile tournaments. Now, this may sound like abusing the system a little bit, but the player counts for these tournaments are already so small. So if you remove the ability to play cross-region, there's going to be like 60 people playing on OCE. And is it even worth hosting at that point? Unlike FNCS, where EU has its own FNCS finals, basically all of the best players are already playing all of the finals in all of the regions. Sounds bad, but I think we just let them have it. Like, you can't put worse players into these lobbies, please. Now, if we quickly see how the final zone plays out, you'll notice that it's just a lot of hammers. Now, in Blitz, the final moving zone deals 40 damage a second, which is 4 times that of a normal Battle Royale match, which I can only imagine is done to prevent players healing off in the storm every game because the matches are only 6 minutes long. But the result of this is that the meta heavily revolves around just pushing other people into the storm. In this Shockwave Hammer meta, if you're on the ground, you're getting punished and pushed into storm, and then you're dead. So by carrying 2 Shockwave Hammers instead of 1, players have double the charges and can stay in the sky longer. I Am Noob was carrying the mythic version, which gave him 1 more charge than everyone else, which helps him stay in the sky longer, which helps him win this match. Now, the difference between carrying a mythic and not carrying a mythic doesn't sound like it would actually have that much of an impact on your match. However, the one thing I've learned from watching a lot of Blitz is that 1 second in the storm can be the difference between winning the match and then placing 6th. Now, because the storm is 40 tick, this means that the best item in every meta almost is the legendary slurp. Now, the final moving zone is only 15 seconds long, and because the slurp healing effect lasts for 20 seconds, right before the final moving zone starts, you'll notice that almost every single player pops a slurp juice to give them the additional healing. Now, out of the top 3 players in this match, Key and I Am Noob both had mythic shockwave hammers, which allowed them to stay in the air longer, and Rises had a slurp popped. So the top 3 players in this match all had either the best mobility item or a slurp juice popped. If you have 100 health, you can survive in the storm for 3 seconds before you die. But with a slurp juice activated, you can survive for 4 seconds. Now again, 1 second doesn't sound that different, but 6th, 5th, and 4th place in this match all died within 1 second of each other. So a slurp juice literally could have been the difference between 2 different placements on the leaderboard. I'd also like to add that hilariously, there was a week where the self-revive made it into the meta in this, and it was basically just a guaranteed win because other players would just die in the storm and you'd just be self-reviving. However, there is an item that's now better than the slurp juice, and that is actually the pulse pistols thanks to the Overwatch collab. Now, the weapon damage itself is really good, and you may think the main reason players will carry this is for the blink effect that allows you to teleport. And this is really good for getting you into the end games, but it doesn't win you a match, mainly because if you use this in the final moving zone, you will just teleport into storm and die. However, it has another feature, which is the rewind feature, and this is actually just winning all of the most recent tournaments. When you use this effect, it rewinds your position to where you were roughly 5 seconds before, but importantly, it also heals you to max health. Here, Rises starts to lose HP in the final few seconds of this match, but rewinds back into the storm, which pushes HP back up to 100. From there, he can just spray back and get an elimination, which gives him Siphon. Now, he actually loses this match to Reet on 120 FPS, not the real Reet, unsurprisingly, who does the exact same thing, but he gets an elimination slightly later, meaning his Siphon is still active. So the players in this match who placed first and second both used the rewind feature to get their HP back up to 100 to survive in that storm a little longer. Another really important thing about the meta is that basically half of the games are just people rifting into the sky. Because the moving zones are so short, if the end game pulls towards a rift, you can just pop a slurp, jump into the storm, and then stay up in the sky away from everyone else for the majority of the game. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that there is some insane RNG when it comes to winning matches, and this is because of Blitz's level up system. You gain points when you get eliminations or survive storm circles in Blitz, but because there are almost 0 eliminations until the very end of every single match, almost all players level up at the same time. The way this works out is that most players reach level 4 when the 6th zone appears, which is the final moving zone, and when you get to level 4, you're granted a random exotic item in your inventory. Now, currently, there are 16 different exotics that you can get. In this match, for example, Rio gets the Eradicator Hot Rock Assault Rifle, which grants him the low gravity effect when you're shooting. Now, you might think this isn't that useful, but in a meta where you're trying to stay alive and keep away from other people as much as possible, having a low gravity effect where you can just jump above them is incredibly useful. There's also Hot Rock Julies you can get here, which have a similar effect. But the best exotic you can get is the Unstable Voltage Burst Pistol, which shoots a small shockwave on the first and last bullet of every clip. Here, Synth gets it going into the final moving zone, however his inventory is full, so he drops it to the ground. Now, me personally, I'm missing that and losing this game, but he actually notices this and then runs back into Storm to grab it. Then he pops a Banana of the Gods, which allows him to jump a little bit higher, and he can just rain shots down into anyone left in the circle, pushing them out into the 40 tick storm. So basically, 15 seconds before the game ends, every single player is randomly granted an exotic item that can give you a win condition to win the match. Or it can give you a shadow tracker, which when you shoot, puts a little mark above people's head, which does absolutely nothing in this kind of match. Now, despite the fact this is really RNG heavy, people are making a lot of money. In the most recent final, SynthAP made $3,450 split across 6 regions that he all managed to qualify to the finals of. However, 2 weeks prior, in the previous finals, he made $3,600. So in May alone, he's earned over $7,000 just by playing mobile tournaments across 7 different regions. And looking at the winners of every region, the lowest number of regions that they actually earned money on was 3, with both Synth and Rises winning 2 regions each. Now, as impressive as this is, we do have to talk about the one controversial part of mobile, which I could not avoid in my comments when I made a tweet asking about this, and that is teaming. Now, I'm not going to call out any individuals here. I'm not going to go through and expose certain people who are doing what. But if you go through a lot of these players' Fortnite trackers and you check the event history and you see who they've played tournaments with, it's a lot of the other players who are also qualifying to every single finals. Now, I'm not going to name names because I don't know what percentage of these people who are placing would get banned. I think it would be relatively high, but yeah, you might want to look into that, Epic. Now, as I've already said, I do believe this to be the pinnacle of competitive Fortnite, and it does not get any better than this. But the cynical of you out there may be asking, why are Epic Games committing $1 million and creating this entire LAN circuit for a relatively small amount of players? Again, I would not be asking that question. Well, the answer is Roblox. Probably. The insane player counts that Roblox has are massively inflated by the sheer number of people who play on mobile devices. An estimated 80 to 90% of all Roblox players play on a tablet or phone. So when you see Roblox's Steal the Brain Rot peak at like 24 to 25 million concurrent players, you've got to remember that a huge percentage of that is literally like iPad babies. Now, for Fortnite, these numbers aren't public, but prior to the removal of the App Store in 2020, the daily average of players playing on mobile was around 2.5 million players, which at the time was 10% of Fortnite's daily traffic. Now, with Fortnite only very recently being re-added to a lot of the app stores, this number has to be significantly lower right now. So the investment in the mobile series does seem like an attempt to get more players to join in and play on the platform. I think the competitive Fortnite generally has done a really good job of keeping players around for years. Like, I'm here. If you watch this, you're probably playing solo cash cups or FNCS even. You're also still here. So the logic of trying to do the same thing on mobile makes a lot of sense to me. Now, Epic Games isn't a public company, but it's worth like $22 to $33 billion or something like that. So, you know, $1 million to try to get a lot more players to play mobile competitive isn't going to break the bank, let's say. See how that's silver? I want that to be gold. So if you click that subscribe button so I can hit 1 mil, that would be appreciated. And also like the video. Bye-bye.